Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to a video of a hero showcase featuring Gazesuccubus, known as Ferrokia 2, or I should say the new Ferrokia, or LR Ferrokia, whatever you're gonna call her with. So anyways, she's not gonna lie, this character alone is insane. In some levels of course, not in the same level as Dragon Slayer, but maybe a little higher than that. But let's talk about what she's about. So at 4 stars, this is the one I have currently. I did give her a bit of a divine shards to speed up the startup process. But anyways, at 4 stars, her damage does increase by 20%. She works best at 6 stars, I believe, which I mean most units work best at 6 stars. As you can see here, it increases up to 30% at 6 stars. And also, if this unit have already taken action this turn, she can act again after any other unit on the battlefield fighting against units with class advantage. Like it doesn't matter who is having the advantage or not. Like the enemy or ally of your own that has a class advantage. If she already acted, she will perform another action, which is super helpful for in the long run. So like you can do some nice tricks in PvP or PvE in general, in team battles. You can have her pair with another team member and then have her switch class, and then if they both met with the class advantage scenario, doesn't matter which side has the advantage, she's gonna get acted again. That's the one part that's really nice about her. And also, this can only be activated one time per turn to make it more balanced. And after taking action, she can choose 2 units and swap their hero class types. And this will last for 3 turns, and this cannot be dispelled whatsoever, because this is considered a buff, and if you try to dispel it, it's just not going to work. So yeah, this effect can be triggered again after 2 turns at 4 stars, and the class type change is considered a buff, like I mentioned earlier, and its duration is reduced by 1 turn when taking damage of any kind. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you're taking damage, you will lose a duration of that buff. But if you're the opponent who got affected by the enemy's gaze, you can use that to your advantage, but be careful because you will probably die for doing so. And now let's talk about the skills that she comes with. So in the beginning, she comes with Plunder, which is a common skill that you use to ignore guard as well as stealing buffs. And beware when you're stealing buffs, because you do not want to steal a buff that could probably hurt you in the long run. Like for example, the guard skill, I mean sure it could work, but Ferrokia honestly doesn't really need that, so just keep that in mind. And she also has the unique skill called Phantom Shift. This one is like when taking fatal damage from a non-disadvantage attack, and also she will not die from that one. Instead, restores 20% of unit's HP, and this can be triggered again after 5 turns. So you might be wondering, how does this work? Well, this revive is pretty similar to like Verolia's revive, but only against physical damage types of attacks. But for Ferrokia's case, or known as Gaze's case, this one will activate as long as you're fighting against an enemy that does not have advantage whatsoever. Doesn't matter if it's yours or enemies. The revive is going to protect you against that. So like as long as nobody is taking advantage of the class, she's going to be able to revive and not die. And then the active skill on this one, it teleports to the nearest location of the target if the target hero's class type is the same as the caster's. Applies a displacement effect which basically swaps the position with the target, and this will increase the attack and int by 20% for 2 turns. And I think it's only for herself. After using this skill, any buffs on the caster do not lose their turn count, and she can act again afterwards. And also, when acting again, it only calculates the amount of mobility you have left, but you cannot move if you already used up all of it. Or maybe you just cannot move at all, whatsoever. I may have to play test around that a bit more, just to see. And she also comes with Sneak, which is a common skill. As you can see there, you can read it yourself by pausing the video if you need to. And then she also has Mind Bender, which is a very popular skill for PvP, for many reasons, of course. So, anyways, after taking action, if the nearest enemy hero in a straight line shares the same class type, they are afflicted with out of control and removed when any ally within one block ends their turn for one turn. And this cannot be dispelled. And also, if this is done in PvE modes or anywhere other than PvP, this effect is replaced with damage taken increased by 30%, which is pretty neat for PvE content opponents. So yeah, even though they basically treat this differently because lose control doesn't really work for PvE because AIs are always dumb, But sometimes they can be smart. But however, this doesn't really apply much for PvE because PvE and PvP aren't the same thing. I think many of you already know this by now. Anyways, the physical damage on here is that it attacks all enemies in a straight line, dealing 0.3 times AoE damage, and switches their class type to the casters for 3 turns. And the class type change is considered buff just like the talent that's mentioned, and this will lose 1 turn when taking damage. So yeah, same thing as the talent effect. But however, this is done by the AoE. So if anybody that you hit with this skill, like, keep in mind that this skill here, this AoE can hit across the map, just like Tiana. But this will hit everyone along the way, not just the first enemy. So yeah, keep that in mind. And also, when you're hitting those units, they will be swapped with the class that you currently have. So for example, if your class is currently a assassin or demon or any class that she has currently, the enemies will also become that class while being hit. But however, if it's a whole unit that's using this against a demon enemy, the chance of getting them killed with this skill is pretty high because of the class advantage, which I'm going to talk about later after I brought up the 3C, because that's very important. Next up we got is Boost. This is the skill that's a common skill that some units have. She also has Thousand Faced Enchantress. This is the unique skill that will change depending on her class. So if she is an infantry or lancer, it's gonna change this skill into a let's see what it's called, because I have a description of each of these in my wiki. Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm gonna read through what each of these does. So if you end up being an infantry or lancer, the skill becomes Soul Seizure, and this is a 3-turn cooldown, 1 block and single target. And all these skills are all 3-turn cooldown, by the way. So what this does is that if you end up being an infantry or lancer, this will attack one enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage, and this attack will ignore melee damage penalty, which makes sense because swords and lancers are melee weapons. Yeah, before combat, dispels 3 buffs from the target and inflicts passive skill silence to a target for 2 turns, and this cannot be dispelled. So this one works like normally you will have for, frontier. I think frontal assault. I think that's what it's supposed to be, but they call this one Soul Seizure for some reason. And next one we got is No Mercy. If you are a assassin or archer. So this one ignores guard and attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.4 times damage and with a crit of plus 30%. And if Gazesuccubus is on the defensive terrain, this attack gains plus 2 range. After combat, the user can move again after 2 blocks. So this one is kind of like a beef up version of Shadow Raid. But yeah, essentially that. And if you end up being an aquatic or a holy class, you get Soul Resuscitation, which is a 3 blocks cast and it's a 3 blocks AoE. This is like a mass heal, kind of like that, but it's a beef up version for it. So this one will restore HP for multiple ally units within range, which is 3 blocks from the center. healing for 5 times of her attack, and dispels 2 debuffs and grants damage dealt plus 15% for 2 turns. So not only you heal them, you dispel 2 debuffs from them, and also give them damage dealt increase of 15%, which is good. But however, if it ends up being a flyer or cavalry, you'll get Dazzle skill. This one behaves like sprint in certain ways. So when you have this on, the passive on this one is that Gazesuccubus mobility is not restricted by terrain, and her mobility is increased by 2, which makes sense because some of the cavalries are in fact terrain masters, like Leon, for example. Having this on Gaze is going to be terrifying if you think about it. And support skill is that when actually using this, it will increase the mobility of all allied units within 3 blocks radius by 2. And they gain attack and int by 20%, and immunity to mobility down, and passive skill silence for 2 turns. Pretty useful in a long turn of this skill. And if it ends up being a mage or demon, you'll get Abyss, which is a self-cast black hole, by the way. It's basically black hole, but the only downside for this skill is that you can only cast it on yourself. You cannot cast it on enemies like you normally would with black hole. It's just not the same. I mean, it works the same, but it's just that you cannot cast it on enemies. Instead, you only cast on yourself, and then it will do its work against enemies near you within 3 blocks. May not sound useful, but hey, I don't know. So the physical damage part is that it increases the crit by 50%, deals 0.36 times damage to all enemies within 3 blocks of Gazesuccubus, and applies 2 random debuffs to each enemy hit. So yeah, it's AoE, not just typical damage. It's AoE. And the special effect is that deals extra effects to enemies with the same class type as her class. So if you end up fighting against someone that has a similar class, like the same class as hers, like mage or demon, they're gonna have they'll be able to be like cause a bit of more penalty on them. And finally, if she's a dragon or any other class besides the ones I mentioned earlier, this skill becomes Flesh Eater, which is very important in the long run because this is the most powerful skill out of all of it. So this one doesn't do guard ignore, but however it does do a big chunk of damage. So this one attacks one enemy, dealing 1.8 times damage, deals special effects to enemies of a different class type than Gaze, and then Gaze will attack first before the enemy does. After combat, recovers 30% of the damage dealt as HP, and removes the trigger cooldown of Gaze's talent. So that one is huge. If you end up able to get your hands on a dragon class, like Isolde is a good candidate of this, but nowadays I don't see Isolde on the field much longer, as far as I noticed. So the chance of you getting this class is actually pretty little, unless there's someone like a Isolde lover per se. I don't know who is that going to be, but you get the idea. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the other skill, Backstab, which is a somewhat of a niche skill. I mean, back in the day it is mind blowing, but now it's just who uses this anyways? And then Shadow Raid is also here for like a preferred option if you don't have like a skill that you preferred, and you want to do like a quick guard ignore. That's a skill for you to use. And now let's look at the rundown of like what each of these skills, where you unlock them from. So right here you'll unlock this unique skill at the initial class, of course. And then if you go demon route, you get the sneak skill, sneak passive. And then you go to the final one, you get this skill called Mind Bender, as well as boost. And then if you go for assassin route, you'll get this here, which is the unique skill where it changes depending on your class. And Backstab is also here, as well as Shadow Raid for the final class. And as for the soldier options, actually before we do that, for the stones, I built her specifically as a skill boosting as well as like damage boosting as well. Yeah, basically I'm trying to go all out for her to make her be the best out there. As for soldier choices, there are actually a lot of good ones on here, like Miss Dancer SP, at least. Poison Bat Mage SP is also a good choice, but I don't have the SP for that soldier, so can't do that one yet. Sorceress will soon have SP in the future, but now I think Poison Bat Mage might be the better ones here. But if you want to go for Hellfire Archer, they will work too. But beware of the like the holy units. These ones do hurt them a lot because these guys are demons. As for the equipments, this is the build I went with for for PvE and PvP. Well, mostly for PvP, I think. So, anyways, the enchantment I go with is Breeze for, of course, giving her additional mobility because her at 3 is actually not pleasant. But if you somehow get her to Cavalry or Fighter, that problem should not be an issue in the long term. But however, if you got Breeze on there, this will allow her to reach easier, essentially. And for the gear set I went with are Crystal Stinger. I mean, you can also work with this with the Lurker Sting if you want to, but I don't recommend that. But you can also go with EMB or Extreme Magic Bow to negate the melee damage penalty to make her difficult to deal with. Last Rites, which is very important because that's the most popular armor for fragile units like herself. Shadow of the Night Owl is also a nice headwear to use for boosting anything in general. She comes with AoE and even single target, so this is useful. And then Bloodthirsty Nail is to prevent active skill silence. And as for the champ bonus, focus heavily on HP and attack. Attack is the top priority, but if you get HP as well, then that's a plus. And now let's talk about the 3C skill here. So the 3C is what changes everything about Gazesuccubus' usefulness. So the command in here is that this one will ignore guard when battling against mixed forces. So this is easily achievable by, of course, mess up their class and then make them become mixed forces. So yeah, Gaze is going to be able to defeat the enemy team at ease with this kind of command. And also, all allies gain 10% increased class advantage effects. So you typically, when you're doing class advantage, they will do like bonus damage against them if it's met. But with Gaze on the field, everyone will be hitting them harder than they normally would. And that's what happened in one of the matches I spectated earlier, where the Demon Gaze got killed in one shot. Like, I'm not kidding, by an AoE attack. Like, are you kidding me? By Gazesuccubus herself as a holy unit against a demon Gaze. I mean, it makes sense for class advantage wise, but getting her one shot like that, ouch. That really hurts. Anyways, the physical, or I should say the active skill on this one is that it attacks one enemy, dealing 1.8 times damage. And before battle, converts 3 enemy buffs into random powerful debuffs. And this can be dirty in many ways. When fighting against units with class advantage, the target is unable to trigger revive effects. And also, this effect can only be affected in PvP mode. So yeah, if you try to do this in PvE, sorry to say, you won't be able to remove the revive like that. So don't try it because it's not going to work. And this is what she looks like when you activate her 3C and animation's on. Yeah, I don't know about that. That looks a little sus if you think about it. I mean, it is cool and all, but it's just that it doesn't seem well suited for a younger audience. Just saying. So, anyways, let's go for the first stage here. And since Gazesuccubus is a physical attacker, makes sense to use Tier here. And here are our first opponents, like the first 3 opponents. So we have these 3 here. We have Kruger or Evil God Kruger as our first opponent. We also have the Transcender as the second opponent, and Watham as our third opponent. And also Fortunately, all of them are demons, which means no class advantage for us. But we'll have to see how it goes. I don't think I'll need to change class here, but we'll have to see.
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土
Okay, so we'll first do, let's see, which one is more effective? 1.4, 1.3, this is more powerful. Let's do that.
お前のもが
Yeah, the attack is fast, so we're able to take down Kruger no problem. And now I'm going to switch class with you and myself, so I can become a demon.
優等の獲物の絶望と嘆きそれこそが最高の学習よ
Actually, wait, I might have made a mistake here, so let me backtrack that. So maybe instead of Transcender getting my class swapped, I'll go with Watham instead. So, yep. I'm gonna go with Watham, so that way I can class swap when he gets closer. I mean, not class swap, then you know the position swapping. You get what I mean. So this is a trick I was thinking about in my mind. So if I do this, like as you can see here, this will make him switch positions and then I get to go again. And attack him like this. Normally I won't be able to reach like that, but if you're able to do just that, you can just go there without any problems. Okay, for this turn I'm just gonna move away. And I think I'm gonna revert myself back to assassin by doing this.
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土優等の獲物の絶望と嘆きそれこそが最高の学習よ
Now I wonder, can I actually do this on myself? I wonder. I mean, I could if I want to, but I don't think the swapping is gonna be able to. Hold on, let me see. Is that even gonna work like that? Oh yeah, it does work. Okay, just swap on myself and to do act again, and then do the unique skill. That's called No Mercy. For a higher multiplier, of course, damage multiplier. In case you guys didn't know, the Ray Shadow, or Shadow Raid, I mean, is a 1.3 times multiplier, while the No Mercy one is basically the same thing, but it is 1 times 4. It's a 1.4 thing, so you can tell that's better choice for like choosing whatever is there. And anyways, I'll be right back. Going to collect those necessary resources. Yep, be right back. Alright, I'm back and I got enough resources for this stage here, thankfully. Otherwise that'll be disastrous because I won't be able to record any further. Okay, so anyways, let's take on stage 2, shall we? Mistress of the Phantom Eye. Okay, so we got some new units we can use here. So we have Elwyn, the original Elwyn, infantry Elwyn, the original Altamuller, flying Altamuller with vampire bats, Transcender, demon Transcender with sorceress, and of course we have ourselves, and the opponent's Gazesuccubus is using the faceless. Okay, interesting choice there. And we'll begin the battle here.
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土
Well, this will be interesting indeed. Let's see, what can we do here? Well, essentially, I do know that there's 2 units on this team will have like AoE, but the Gaze's AoE isn't as threatening as you would think because it's only a self cast and it does decent AoE damage. Okay, can you calm down, Gaze? You're just screaming to the top of your lungs, man. Anyways, I'm gonna switch class with that gaze so that way
はいよ
that gaze will not be able to do AoE on us. However, we do need to watch out for other units too, like Altamuller. I mean, I don't think he's gonna attack on this turn because guard skill takes a priority first, usually for
だ
AI.
から全ては無駄なのだ
AI control
全
unit.
力でいけ
And also, I gotta be mindful of the location they are going to, though. So let's see, how far can you hit? Oh, actually, this one's pretty long. Okay, I think I should probably not put them in the same line here.
だから全
Okay,
ては
I
無駄
was
なの
wrong.
だ
I mean, sometimes they just do guard first before
超
they
越
go
の
in
力に
for
は
the attack.
何者も匹敵せん
優等の獲物の絶
Okay,
望と
this
嘆
is
き
where I'll go in
それこそが最高の学長
for
よ
the AoE right here.
お前のもがく姿が優等に映る最
Look
高
at
の
that.
はいよ
3 units got silenced there.
我に挑む資格を与えよ
Okay, I'm gonna do the same on
無能
them.
な産物
And
は
see how they will like it.
はいよ
やっとか
Okay, I'm gonna go right here to AoE them
目障
again.
りだ
全力でいけ 遅い
この恨み血でしか洗い流せん
Okay, yeah, Ultimate is guarding.
お前のもがく
Yeah,
姿が
Abyss is gonna
優
get
等に映る
used
最
here.
高の景色よ
Wow, that was close.
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土
I had an idea. I'm going to move. I'm gonna switch place with you because we are the same class.
私の目が
And
届
then I'm
くとこ
going
ろ
to
は
AoE
す
right
べて
here.
お前のもがく姿
Prepare to
が
die.
優等に映る
Yep,
最高の
two units
景
dead.
色よ
And now I'm going to be turning you into a demon.
全力でいけ
我に挑む資格を与えよ無能な産物はいず
And now
れ
you're
消え
dead.
る
No casualties. There we go. That is the 3C unlocked. Yeah, see you all on the battlefield soon. I am going to switch that one out for this here. There we go. And be right back. Going on the battlefield. Okay, here we are. I'm back. So let's do some work here.
出撃します
I'm just going to AoE right here with my own unit before moving in with Sakura. And before moving with
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土
I think we'll do we'll stun her first. Yep, now he won't do too much here.
それこそが最高の学長よ
Which one does the damage reduction? Was it this one? Okay, it was this one. Okay, so let's go and do this.
優等の獲物の絶望と嘆きそれこそが最高の学長よ
Okay, can you come down, gaze?
私の目が届くところはすべて私が運命を裁く国土
Okay, so let's see. Is the animation on before I start? Okay, it is on.
優等の
Okay,
獲物の
let's do
絶望
this.
と嘆きそれこそが最高
Okay,
の
enough. What's with her screaming like
満
that?
ちた世界で苦しみだけが真実よ
ごめんなさい運を使い切っちゃったみたい
Yeah, that is actually pretty nuts there. So yeah, that is the 3C animation. That's what it looks like when you're doing the engage in combat. So So let's back out this battlefield and let's talk about how I thought about this unit. And I'm back. And as far as how I think about this unit, or how I thought about this unit, Gaze is absolutely a monster. If you haven't got her summoned yet, please get her as soon as possible because she is a limited time unit, and I don't think she'll ever come back until she gets a rerun. But however, I do have news that she will get rerun around the 7th anniversary update, so even if you miss her here, you will have another chance on that update, so keep that in mind. So anyways, that's Gazesuccubus for ya. Hope y'all find this video helpful or informative, and I apologize this video is so long because this character is really unique, and it has a lot of different forms of skills depending on what class you're on. And you can imagine there are a lot of them, but 6 versions of it. It's like, seriously, that's a lot of skills to dive right into, like digest, of course. So anyways, hope you all find this video helpful or informative, and I'll see you all next time.